Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles, your favorite true crime podcast. I am Donnie, and with me is a man that says, if you've never been punched in the face with a giant cinnamon stick, just walk into any craft store after Labor Day. It's Dale.
Ain't that the damn truth?
Oh, you walk in there and you smell that cinnamon.
Big old cinnamon fans and stuff laying everywhere, whatever.
Pine cones, scented pine cones, and
tobacco cones.
And brooms and everything.
I like that stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's just cinnamony.
I like the cinnamon spice, not the pumpkin spice.
You don't like the pumpkin spice?
No, not a fan.
No, me neither. No, not a fan.
You can have all that.
What's going on today, dude?
You know, same old, same old.
Same old, same old. I like same old, same old.
Well, it's not really the same old, same old. We're going to have a quick correction right quick. Last week, we had a Apple 5-star podcast review. There was actually a Apple podcast 5-star review, but it was actually from Courtney Jane _27 and not Doyle the Kind of Good.
Doyle the Great.
Yeah, Doyle the Great. Somehow or another, on this Apple thing we have, something happened and it was named wrong, but I will correct that today. So today, the Courtney Jane was the one, you know, that had found us through A Should Agree and really liked it when you say it really pisses me off, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Doyle the Great, which is kind of confusing because it says Doyle the Great. Then it says, new listener, 5 stars. Hello, I'm Sarah from Florence, Alabama. So I guess Doyle the Great is actually Sarah from Florence, Alabama. I heard about your podcast from the Nancy Grace Show, Crime Stories, my favorite. I'm really enjoying y'all's podcast. Keep up the good work. So we appreciate you coming in there and giving us that. And I'm sorry I screwed that up last week, but I really don't think it was my fault.
I think it was something to do with Apple.
We've been investigating for the last 30 minutes to figure out how this happened. But I'm glad to straighten it out for you, and thanks for finding us on Nancy Grace, and that was really great. We had a great time on the Nancy Grace show, and thanks to Karen Stark for helping us do all that. But anyway, so we will go right ahead and get the rest of this on the floor, because we do have more of these to give out today.
Oh, man.
And so we have one from Christina HM, I guess, or Christina KHM, something. Anyway, love this podcast, 5-star. Just started listening recently and love that y'all are kind of local. I'm from Spartanburg. Keep up the good work, and I'm going to keep listening.
Man.
So how cool is that?
That's very cool.
Right down the road, ain't it?
Yes.
So we really appreciate that. Sorry I messed that one up. I don't think it's my fault, but I'll still apologize for it anyway, and we will get it right. We'll check this stuff and blame it on Apple.
I think it is something to do with Apple, because I saw it too, and it just didn't line up the way it was supposed to or something.
Yeah, because you were like, wait, did we skip this? I'm like, no, that was this one, and then I got to look, and I'm like, wait, it's different than it was, because I had screenshots from last week from where that I read off of. So,
Man.
So anyway. But anyway, thanks to everyone and anyone who takes the time to give us a 5-star review. It really greatly helps us, and we appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Yep. And you can also give 5 stars on Spotify, and you can write comments under each episode. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
About the episode. Yeah, sure can.
Sure can.
All right, dude, after this short break, we're going to get into this episode.
All right.
All right, Dale, we are back, and we're doing a case that's real close to home right here.
Yeah, it's only like an hour and 12 minutes up the road.
Yeah, from where we're at right here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pretty much in our backyard. And today we're talking about a little girl who went missing and was last seen on November the 21st, 2022. And she was seen getting off her school bus in Cornelius, North Carolina.
Exactly.
And we're talking about Madalina Cojocari. And there's a lot of mystery surrounding this little girl's disappearance, man.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been wanting to do this case for a while, but there's just not much information on it.
Nothing we could find in it.
Yeah, just not enough to do a whole episode to do it justice.
But today might be different.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be different, because we've had a group reach out to us, and we've got 2 ladies on the show today. And out of respect for them and Madalina's case, they have chose to remain anonymous. No names will be mentioned. But we are so grateful to have them on the show, and they have done a lot of research on her case. They are taking a deep dive into her case.
They're really passionate about this.
Yes.
And we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get them to explain a little bit on that. But we want to just welcome these 2 ladies to the show and talk about Madalina. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Hi, thank you for having us here.
Well, thank you. Okay, just whoever wants to start, just tell us how you guys got into Madalina's case.
So when I first saw Madalina's case, I was attracted to the case because there was such a long discrepancy of when she was last seen to when she was last reported. So that obviously it piqued my interest to know why wasn't she reported missing.
I'm a mom of two, and I lived in Lake Norman for a long time, very active in the schools. My friends' kids go to that school, been on that street numerous times, so it just crushes me as a mom to see something like this happen in a nice community.
Oh, I know. I can't imagine. I mean, when this short story came out, I mean, it shocked the whole area. I mean, it went nationwide, too. And Madalina was gone. So let's go back in time a little bit and talk about Madalina's mother, Diana, and tell us some background on her and where she came from and what's going on with her.
Okay, so I'll start. So the first thing that we know or can go back to and verify is in 2008, her and Christopher Palmiter, Madalina's stepfather, they had met through a website. I would say it's like a friends dating website. It's called Global Ladies. After that, Chris had flown to Moldova to meet Diana in 2010. So they had been talking for about 2 years, and he eventually flew out there in 2010. They kind of grew apart, and Diana was seeing another person who then eventually Madalina was born, April 11th, 2011. And so they grew apart, but they began talking again in 2012. And then eventually he flew back out there in 2014, and they decided that they were going to come to the U.S. in 2015. And they had 90 days. She came over on a visa for 90 days, and so she had to go back unless they got married. So they got married in 2016.
Okay, let me ask you something quick. So you say they got back in touch. Did she, because I had heard that she had came here and then they reconnected. So you're saying that they reconnected before the two moved over?
So they grew disconnected from 2010
Correct.
to 2012. During the time period she was seeing someone else.
I think it's also important to point out that according to numerous sources, Diana was also on a weight loss TV show that is on QCN, and you can find it on YouTube, where she said she wanted to start a new life. And according to her live testimony on the TV show, she said she was looking for love and wanted to get remarried, but she felt she needed to lose weight first. And then she came into contact with Christopher after that TV show had aired.
At what point when they hooked up, I had heard this in different places, and they come over here and got married, and this may not be relevant at all, but I had heard through several places that they never consummated their marriage. Is that true?
So that is what Christopher is saying. He said that in his trial for the failure to report Madalina. He has stated that, but we also have heard claims from other people saying that from what they've seen, they don't believe what he said.
Really?
It would be very...
Yeah, several accounts of witnesses seeing them show heavy public displays of affection in public grocery stores, pool, in the neighborhood, at community events. So I personally don't believe that.
Yeah,
it would be hard to believe that someone would come over there and then they're going to marry you and do all this stuff and it's just platonic.
But Christopher, he was a lot older than her, wasn't he?
So there is a large age gap. I know it's about 10 years. I don't have the exact.
Yeah, I think she was close to 37 and he was
like,
close to 60 or something, I think.
Yeah, he's 63, and I know wasn't she 29 when they met, when she came to the U.S.? So there's almost a 30-year age difference.
Wow. Do you think that Diana was just looking to, like you said, start a new life and come over here and marry the first guy she finds? Or
she only had 90 days.
Yeah.
I think Christopher was very convenient because they already had talked. I think Christopher was a loner. I don't think that he had many options. I mean, he worked a job a lot. He he seemed like a lonely person, and I think that he had opportunity and she saw it.
And think about it too. If you're coming from a country like Moldova or Romania, and you see this American that comes from a large family with, 5, 6, 7 siblings, and lives in a very affluent community like Lake Norman, owns multiple properties. He's an engineer, works for, some of the top employers. Someone coming from a rural community, he seems like a white knight, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
at least looks very stable and promising. Yes.
So how old was Madalina when they moved over here to the U.S.?
I believe she was 3.
Okay. So she probably wouldn't have had much memory of that at all, that experience of moving to the U.S.
No, I wouldn't say she did. I know that she was in a couple of classes to help with her language when she was very little. But I don't think they've also mentioned that she couldn't speak anymore, the Romanian.
Oh.
So I don't think she would remember any.
Okay.
Right. And just a side note for our listeners, Moldova is kind of like right between Ukraine and Romania, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like a landlocked country.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Madalina. When they moved over here, what was some of the things that she was into? What did she enjoy doing?
So from what we know, which is sadly, unfortunately, very little, that she enjoyed horses. She loved anything to do with horses. She loved Kinder Egg candies. She was a normal 11-year-old. Unfortunately, we don't know a lot about her. Nobody has straight come forward to us to tell us her personality. We've had one outsider that knew Madalina but really didn't.
Yeah.
And nobody from either sides of these families have come forward and told us, like, we're looking for Maddie. This is what she likes to do. Or it's really sad.
I think
it's really disheartening. Family hasn't come forward, but from pictures that have been shared from classmates or people from the neighborhood or the school, she likes pink and purple. She likes horses. She likes cats. They did have, and you could probably clarify this, how many cats they had at their house, but she did love playing with her kitten.
Okay.
Yeah, they had tons of cats. She would like a community of cats. She would gather them all and feed them, and we actually know a lot of them were rehomed and some to some people in our group.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's very cool. I think I read an interview with her bus driver that she was very kind and she always thanked her when she got off the bus.
Yeah, for the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that says a lot.
Everyone said she was well-mannered and polite.
Yeah, that says a lot right there about her character. Just polite kid. Did you ever hear anything of the authorities talking to some of her classmates or anything, or anything like that?
Maddie had a close friend. I want to say, don't quote me on this, but I want to say in 5th grade, maybe 4th. And I know that they had reached out to her, and I talked to her mother personally. And the thing is that the way people describe that, the children describe her, is that she was doted on. She was anything Madalina wanted, she got. She had a whole playroom full of toys. She was always well cared for. Her hair was always, it's very long, and it was always like properly braided. I've had her past teachers reach out to me and say, we never saw any red flags. Like, we never saw anything leading up to this. And I remember, kind of like off topic here, but I remember a conversation with one of her older teachers, and they said to me, Madalina wanted to wear Heelys to school, the shoes with the little wheels in them. And she had to reach out to Diana and tell her, like, Maddie can't wear these to school. They're a distraction. They're this, they're that. And Diana was like, well, I don't understand why she couldn't. She was a very, I doted on child.
Well, at least that's good.
Yeah,
she did not appear neglected, at least by public perception.
Yeah. What do you ladies know about the relationship between Madalina and her stepdad, Christopher? Did they get along? Have you heard?
Well, honestly, we've heard that Christopher is the one that had done a lot of things with Madalina activities, taking her to the pool, walking around the neighborhood, things like that. So, I mean, that's the closest I can say that we've even come to knowing their relationship, is that we've heard that they've done activities together.
Yeah, he would take her bike riding from public accounts from the neighbors and members of the group. We haven't heard anyone say, oh, yeah, we witnessed negative behavior or abusive behavior that had never come to light from our observations.
That is just crazy. I mean, he seemed like he was doing a lot for her and a lot with her, too.
There were some people that kind of got the perception that either the mom was tired or she was distant.
Diana didn't work, did she? Did she have a job over here in the U.S.?
No, not from what I could find ever.
Okay.
There was rumors she had sold Avon, but that wasn't clear. She sold Avon in Moldova or in the U.S. at some part, but I don't think she was very active in it.
Yeah.
She was a teacher in Moldova. She had a good career path in Moldova.
The only thing I saw was Mary Kay, I think.
Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Yeah.
Mary Kay, yes. Apologies, not Avon.
Okay, yeah. Not a big difference, but yeah.
Yeah, it's okay.
But
Same
she was doing something. I reported having some kind of job, earn some money. What did Christopher do for a living? The stepdad.
He was an engineer. I don't know it is public account. He worked for Ingersoll Rand, a very prominent employer, very well respected in the area as an engineer, and also during the time of the investigation, his employment had ended. Maybe he was a contractor. The terms of that are not public knowledge, if he was a contract employee or what happened there. But he left on his own accord, so we're not making any suggestions there at all. And then he also, during the case of the time of the trial, it came out he was a contractor for a government defense contractor as an engineer. And he also owned a side business doing wood burning, making plaques, metal. So he did have a workshop, and he had a business that he had closed down, but he had different clients for his side hustle.
So he's a pretty smart guy, it seems like.
Making a good living, too.
Yeah.
Extremely intelligent. They made a very good living. It did not appear from the outside world that there was any financial struggles.
Can you ladies describe the home and the area that they lived in Cornelius?
I can describe it. So it's a good area. They've got a public pool in there for the residents and the HOA. I mean, it's a nice community. There's nothing, I don't know how I would describe that any deeper.
Lake Norman is about 15 minutes north of Charlotte, North Carolina. Cornelius is one of the more expensive zip codes to own a home in. And it's very close proximity to the actual lake called Lake Norman. And I don't know how much detail you want as far as like demographics, home pricing, or anything like that, but a very affluent community.
Right, yeah. We pulled it up on Google Earth. It looks like a very nice neighborhood with lots of houses.
People don't necessarily lock their doors, lock their cars. It's what you would consider a quiet, nice suburb. Not saying any suburb is perfect, but you definitely wouldn't expect something like that to happen there. And it's in very close proximity to Davidson College, where a lot of people, basketball fans, know Steph Curry is from that community as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely not out in the sticks by itself. It's a pretty large neighborhood, look like.
But other than Diana, maybe selling some Mary Kay or Avon, have you ladies heard or read of her having any kind of hobbies or anything she enjoyed doing that she was into?
I hate to say this because it might get us off on a tangent, but I will. Her religion. She was a huge follower in her religion.
Okay.
She had posted videos of it on her Facebook, on her OK account, which is another Facebook for Romanian. But we don't really know, honestly. There was nothing that it looks like she vacationed sometimes with Chris's family. The beach, the mountains, hiking, but nothing that stands out.
What was this religion? What was the religion that she was practicing?
It was like some of this Elizabeth Clare Prophet stuff, I think.
Okay.
She has made several social media posts. There have been videos posted over the years, even before the investigation, that some people might construe her religion beliefs as cult-like. She, on her own social media, she posts she belongs or follows the Summit Lighthouse organization, which you don't have to do much digging to see the major news articles, 60 Minutes, different programs profiling that organization and using the word cult. Plus a local business, and I don't know if you guys want to use this or not. It's one of those things, you never want to be careful what you say, but the Tune Soul Sangha Healing and Meditation Community Center, on the surface looks like a great place. They had hosted one of the first vigils for Madalina when she went missing.
I know that there's, I can't, off the tip of my tongue, I cannot remember. There was a specific religion in there. I don't know if you remember the name of it, and I don't have it written on my notes in front of me, but it was specific.
You could definitely say she had some alternative views that were not mainstream, not Christian, non-Christian, not Unitarian.
Yeah, I'd heard it was
you
like
could do a whole segment on that.
Right, yeah, a lot of mixed up
that,
stuff, yeah.
During the trial, they had said that, during Christopher's trial, they had said that there was a lot of rituals that were being done involving knives and fire and her chanting.
Right.
Huh.
I can't even say it. It's Kundalini. That is the faith.
Is this something? Is this something she practiced in Moldova and brought over here, or is this something she picked up over here?
So from what I've seen, her mother follows it, and a lot of her family members. It's basically like it's like a spiritual awakening and yoga practices combined. It's very interesting.
Okay.
Right. Kundalini is considered a respectable form of, I guess, divine feminine energy founded in Hinduism, but there are a lot of public accounts that she was more a alternative version of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw somewhere where it said that she had went like to every church by the time she was 9, or different religions, and decided that they were all things different, and she took pieces from each one, and then she got into this Elizabeth Clare Prophet stuff and the chanting and all stuff. So I think she's got some pretty wild stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you Google Kundalini and then the Summit Lighthouse, you will see numerous articles about cult ties and practices. And your listeners can do that search and make their own judgment on that.
Right.
All right, ladies, let's move up to November the 21st of 2022. This was the day that Madalina was seen getting off her school bus. Can you ladies describe that day for us?
Yeah. So the 21st was the last day Madalina had gotten off her school bus. She went to school that day, and she got off the bus, and she was never seen again. I mean, from accounts of the little kids behind her on the bus, they said that she ran home that day. I don't have proof of it, but that's what we have heard. And from accounts of cameras around the area, we've also heard that she did make it inside that day.
She made it into the house. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a surveillance of the school bus actually of her getting off. That's how we know, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And the FBI did request ring camera footage from the neighbors, but none of that information regarding the ring camera or surveillance footage from local cameras has been revealed to the public, what they found from that footage.
So wasn't this around Thanksgiving that she went missing, and it was a long weekend?
Yeah, so it's interesting because, so we have a calendar made out, and so the 21st is the last day she was in school. Now, the 22nd, there was like either a half day or a full day that she had missed. So
Right.
that day before vacation.
Okay. And a lot of kids wouldn't have went to school that day anyway, right?
Correct. So there's this school, it's actually like an online portal system. So the parent can go online, check, my kid's not going to be in school today. And if they do that, it's an excused absence technically. So somebody was doing that at some points in this, but other points they weren't. So that's very interesting, and we've never gotten a an 100% of which parent or which days.
So she
went to school Monday, and then when she came home, that was the last time she was seen.
Oh, wow. So she wasn't reported missing for a while, and they actually sent out to her home to check on her when school started back, didn't they?
So the last day she was seen was the 21st, but there's a lot that happens in between the 21st and the time that she was reported missing. Do you want a step-by-step play, or do you want...
Yeah, tell us what you know.
Give it to us.
Okay. So the 21st, she was last seen getting off the school bus. So the day of the 23rd, so the 22nd, she didn't go to school. So that would have been Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, right? Yeah. Tuesday, she didn't go to school. And then break started the 23rd. So apparently, what we learned in trial, there was a fight between Diana and Christopher on the 23rd. And it was regarding some kind of mug. A mug got broken, something like that. So then the 23rd or the 24th is where it gets interesting. So the 23rd, Diana says that Chris left. No, sorry. The 23rd in the evening is Chris said he had left to go to Michigan. He said that he went there to pick up some items. His family was there. And then Diana says that he left the morning of the 24th to go to Michigan. So there's discrepancy there, and we don't really know exactly when, if it was the evening of the 23rd or the morning of the 24th.
Right.
But he got home on November 26th, and he had asked, basically, the way I describe it to people is it was like they were talking about a remote. Like, have you seen Madalina? No. Have you? No. It was from the way we read it in affidavits, is that it was very plain. You know, it was a very plain situation. And Chris, at that time, had said he had not seen Madalina a week before he had left. So he says he left he says he left on the 23rd or the 24th, and he hadn't seen her a week before then.
So let's go back a little bit before you get too far. The thing about the mug, I had heard it is because it had a snowflake symbol on it, and she was flipping out because of the symbolism due to her religion. And that's when she smashed it, right?
Yeah, there was something about the mug, and it was a meltdown, and apparently Chris had actually went, before he left to Michigan, to buy a new mug.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I'd heard. Went to replace it because then she wanted something with something else on it or something. And then with the fight, and she wanted him to go to Michigan to pick up some clothes or something, right?
Yeah, like there's so much to this story. It's so hard not to overshare because we'd be on forever.
Right.
You know.
Well, the thing I was thinking,
to pick up some things.
If she went to send him to go pick up clothes, I mean, you could have picked up the phone and go, look, mail me these clothes. I'm thinking that he's trying to get the hell out, get away from her for a while, go see his family for Thanksgiving, to run up the road just to get out of the damn house. I'm thinking stuff is a little weird in this house. I think there's a lot more to her than people know, the way you might know. But anyway, let's go ahead from there. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And then the fire, too. I mean, you can't ignore the fact that she's burning furniture, carpet, clothing.
Yeah, so that was after he came home. So November 26th is when he got home. and they had the little, where's Madalina? Where is she? Did you hide her? No, I didn't. And then the 30th is when they had the small fire, and there's a fire report. So this incident says it was a small fire, but I disagree because multiple claims of neighbors. A neighbor actually went over there. She was so concerned about how big the fire was. And Diana acted just like nothing happened. But
So-
there was a fire between the 30th and, from some reports of people, we've even seen about 4 days.
So this is like a backyard fire we're talking about, not a house fire or something.
Yeah, but a backyard fire where you were burning carpets
And
and
furniture.
cushions.
Yes.
Yeah, that ain't good.
It was big
And
enough for
there's
the
heavily
neighbors to
wooded
call.
area behind the house too. Right, and there's heavily wooded areas, so there were neighbors worried about the trees catching on fire, and there were neighbors reporting that there were fires at least 2 or 3 days. So, you can't ignore the fact, even on the stand, Chris said she cut up the bed, or he helped her cut up the bed, burned Madalina's mattress. Why would you do that if your kid is missing? Why would
Really?
you cut up the carpet
And
and burn the carpet?
I think his reasoning was the
There was
the
just
cat
so many
urine.
things burning.
Yeah.
And the couch cushions. Most people, Lake Norman, you put it out on the curb, and then when the trash recycling service comes by, they take it away. You're not just burning stuff outside for 2-3 days.
No, that's just weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next thing after we have this small fire on the 30th, we go to December, and the first thing that we have in December is that Diana was seen getting an oil change. She got an oil change in Hickory, and there was kids' toys in the car, but there was no Madalina.
And she was saying that she was with her at this point, and then the guy that did the oil change said there was no kids, or did she not say that?
Yeah, she reported that Maddie was with her this day, but the next day she was seen again in the mountains on Lonesome Mountain Road.
Here in North Carolina.
Yes.
Yep, and she was seen pulled over at this, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a little pull-off zone.
It's like a
like a dirt
scenic
patch.
pull-off, yeah.
And she was tired, and she was. I can't remember. I don't want to say wrong thing, but I'm pretty sure it was a police officer that was off duty that actually pulled over to see, like, hey, are you okay?
Right.
But no Madalina.
So what happened after that?
So after that, at that point, nobody had known Maddie was missing. So this is where it gets interesting. So December 10th, Christopher Googled truancy, like information on a child being truant in school.
Right, because when they came to the house to check on her, the officer left a truant packet, right?
But it hadn't made it to this point yet, which is even more interesting. So the 10th, he Googled truancy, and then the 13th, the school left the truancy packet.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Which is interesting. Why would he be Googling truancy before the truancy packet even made it? Because he knew. So then the 14th, the day after, Diana called the school. She said, I'll bring Madalina in. We'll clear this up, whatever. The 15th, she went to the school with no Madalina, and that's when she was reported missing through the school.
And they were not willing to report her missing. The school guidance counselor and the resource officer pretty much told the parents, we have to report her missing by law. And then Christopher was called to the school.
Yeah, so they told her that she had to come in for a conference, right? And she said she would come in and bring her, but when she came, she didn't bring her with her, and then that's kind of when they figured out what the hell was going on here.
Yes.
So it was, I want to say 27 days had gone by, right?
Yeah, about. And so the next part of the story is what I find the most interesting. So the 15th, that's when they reported her missing. That's when Diana went to school. Then the 16th, there was a picture. It is a huge discrepancy of what was going on in this picture. Apparently, Madalina Octavian, which is apparently Diana's only relative in the U.S., and two women were spotted on security camera in Lowe's Groceries in Linville. And the police came out. They said, this isn't Madalina. It wasn't her. But during court, they said that they would not release this picture. They wouldn't give it to Chris's attorney. They have never come out and flat out told us that wasn't Madalina. How did somebody spot Madalina the day after when there was barely any news media about it on the 15th? It's very interesting.
Very interesting, yeah.
I was wondering why we'd never seen that photo. I didn't know that.
So what point...
There's a court order preventing that photo being released to the public.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So at what point did Diana and Christopher get arrested?
So they were arrested the next day, the 17th.
Okay.
And then that day, the home was searched. The 19th, the lake was searched. There's been 3 or 4 searches in the house. And that's pretty much the timeline of what happened in between her missing.
So what are they thinking happened to Madalina? What is the general consensus of her disappearance, do you think?
Well, we have a mix of people that think she is hidden away. We have a mix of people that think she's trafficked. We have a mix of people thinking the worst things happened to her. It's very hard because we can't rule anything out because Diana isn't talking. Chris isn't talking. They've never, made a plea for their daughter. I mean, to be honest, our group has done the most advocacy for Madalina that I've ever seen. It's like at this point, she's taunting us. She's posting online. She's living her best life. There's just such a mix. It's such a mix in opinions because we don't have anything to point us in one way or the other.
So they had to serve some jail time for not reporting a child missing, correct?
Yeah, so they served, let me see. So they were arrested on 2017. December 17th. And from that point on, they were serving for failure to report. But on this March 17th of 23, drugs were found in Diana's shirt. And then
that was in jail,
apparently
right?
it wasn't. Yeah, apparently it wasn't drugs. The charge was dropped in July of 23. So they served all that time, and eventually Diana, in May, she took a guilty plea. She said, I did it. She got out on time released, time served. And then the 24th of May, Chris's trial begun. He said that he wasn't guilty. They found him guilty. And he got time served. And he filed for a divorce in June. And then on June 25th, Diana became a main suspect. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, there's something going on because like when they found her car and went through her car, there were several bank receipts and stuff where she looked like she had basically been liquidating the account and then found like $7,500 cash and their passports to Romania and Moldova in her car.
Yeah. So I hate to say this, and but I really believe at the beginning of this case, the police department was not ready for what the reality was. I don't think that they were experienced enough in a situation like this. And I think that they pointed a lot of it to the evil stepfather. And according to the search warrants, they searched a lot of Christopher's things before Diana's. For the car, for instance, there was months apart, which is very interesting. I think that a lot of it was that they pointed one way and not the other.
Yeah, I'll get that.
Yeah.
Well, because that's usually the way it would go. You wouldn't be looking at their mom, especially if it's a foreign mother and daughter who came over here. You would think they would be closer than the stepfather to the child, but I don't know about this case.
Mm-mm.
There was a Romanian reporter that was involved in the case in the beginning who had claimed the family was, had some celebrity status back in Moldova, that her sister is a professional singer and all this, but you would think if her sister is this big celebrity, she would come forward looking for her niece, right? That there would be some reward.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
There's just nothing that makes sense. Kids go missing. Families are begging for them to be found. They're putting a reward up. Even guilty parents, right, usually will fake some kind of story.
Oh, yeah.
Say that kid was kidnapped, something. It's just, this case is so bizarre.
Yeah, they usually put up some kind of front to try to deflect any way they can, but these guys aren't saying anything.
Mm-mm.
So the only thing that we have seen from either side of the family was that our group came together and we fed the Cornelius Police Department a couple different dinners. And people from Chris's side of the family did donate to that fund. And they also came out with a letter thanking everybody for their efforts. But nobody... Diana, okay, I'm off on a tangent here, but I remembered it and I think it's really important. So during the time Maddie was missing, Diana was posting photos of Madalina, which I think is very telling. She posted those pictures on her, it's an OK website. It's like Facebook. And she was posting those pictures of Madalina. And so obviously at the beginning of this case, I reached out, and we have translators in our group, and I reached out to Diana's mother, Radhika, and I said, do you know Maddie's missing? Madalina's missing. And she said that it's a ploy. She didn't know she was missing. She had no idea. But then, fast forward 2 years, and she said that Diana had called her and told her, and this and that, and, made her, she's telling stories. Somebody's telling a story.
Wow.
Did you mention the jailhouse recordings of both parents?
No. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so the law enforcement have recordings of Diana speaking to her mother being recorded now. We don't know if Diana is aware that her conversations were being recorded. There's recordings of Christopher talking to his brother and other family members also at separate times while they're both in jail, blaming each other. Both, brought up bags of money. Christopher had said that Diana had a large bag of money. They both kind of blamed each other, but the common thread was they both said Diana had a big bag of money.
Huh.
Per these recordings, Christopher actually was an obsessive note taker, and the law enforcement had planted somebody in his jail cell. Now, I'm not clear if that person was a police officer undercover or another person in jail, but they made notes and confiscated his journals because he was like reconstructing a timeline of Madalina in his journal.
And I think it's also important to mention that July of this year is when Diana left to Romania and eventually ended up in Moldova, and now we've traced her to Bulgaria.
So when she got out of jail serving her time, she left the country.
So she put in a request. Her lawyer put in a motion to have her green card given back to her. They said, no, we're not doing that. So from what we've constructed is she went to the embassy, she got another green card, and she left with her mother.
Wow.
And the whole thing is at the beginning, and even in court, there's testimony stating she was afraid that someone was going to come for her and her daughter. That was one of the many stories that she told. But why would you go back to the country if you're so afraid of these, Russian entities? At one point, even in court, she said, Michael Jackson or Putin were after her. Why would you go back to that area if there actually was somebody that you were afraid of?
Exactly.
Or if Chris abused you like she was telling, she was also pleading that story, then why would you go sit on his porch for days and days and days after you're released?
Right.
Yeah.
Go right back. Yeah. Now, this one person that you said was a relative, they lived in Florida, I think, at the time, right?
Yeah, St. Cloud.
Right. And she had...
They lived with, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
they lived
fine.
with Diana and Chris for a period of time. It wasn't a long period of time. but they lived there, and now they live in Florida.
Now, didn't she, or it was alleged that she had reached out to this person and was like trying to get themselves out of the country?
Yeah, she reached out, and we haven't seen those messages, but from what we've read and put together, it's kind of like she asked them to be smuggled out.
Right.
Yeah, FBI had that person's wiretaps, T3 wiretaps. They were already under investigation for drug trafficking. And there are several recordings from Thanksgiving through, I want to say, December 16th? And they are referenced in search warrants as well.
So
Yeah, and another little interesting thing to just play off of that, actually a news report came out about these T3 wiretaps, and we talked to a lot of the news reporters because that's the only connection we have to pushing Madalina's story. So the news reporter actually said to us, they made us take these down, these articles. There's no article about that anymore. So it's interesting.
what would be the reason Diana would hide Madalina away? What would be the reason to hide her, you think?
Michael Jackson, man.
I think that Diana was a mentally ill person that succumbed to a religion. I think that she practiced this religion so much that it could have pointed her to, Maddie's demise or hiding her for the greater good. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I will. You can cut it out if you want. But I relate Diana a lot to Lori Vallow.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
Yep.
I 100%. From what we know, the neighbors say that she did a lot of chants. She would stay up all day and night chanting at her computer. And we followed her religion and the people in her religion. And they practice on this online room, basically. And it's from all over the world, people everywhere. And I think in the end of this, towards where Maddie went missing, things had gotten a lot worse. I think that, from Chris saying in court that, she had them sit on a chair and she was waving knives around them. And I think that she was unstable and that she went to this religion and it got really out of hand. Back in the beginning of this case, on her Facebook page, there's this very eerie video, and I don't know how to describe it. It's basically saying the good in harm.
Oh, yeah, violence. That violence is a positive thing. It's just very disturbing to listen to, and it's probably still out there on the internet.
Where is Christopher Palmiter now, the stepdad?
He's living in his house.
In that same house?
Yes.
Yep, in Cornelius. And I tell you, if I was his neighbors, I'd be furious. I would be afraid to go outside with my little kids because something wrong went in that house, right? Whether it was intentional or unintentional, something happened, and the truth has not come out yet. And, there's different theories, like my co-interviewee here is saying either the religion had a play in her, if she had mental illness, or, there's a lot of accounts of how Diana liked to be the center of attention. Did she think that her daughter was taking attention away from her? She didn't want to be a mom. Did something accidental happen? I don't know, but there's definitely, you can't help wondering if it was accidental or premeditated, whatever ended up happening.
And I'm going to bounce off that real quick. The thing is that, in my opinion, Diana is a very intelligent person. And a normal person, why didn't she call the school and say, hey, me and Madalina are moving back to Moldova, or, hey, we're going to homeschool Madalina? She didn't do that. So that makes me think that something happened and it was quick. She had to come up with something quick to do because it doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't she call her out of school or just take her out of school?
Yeah, that's exactly what I had told Donnie. I was like, if she was thinking properly, all she would have to do was say either of those things. Oh, we're just going to start homeschooling her and do that, or, that we just went back, or I sent her back to be with her grandmother or something. They could have come up with something, and it wouldn't have been near as fishy as just showing up and go, well, she's not here, and I ain't seen her in 3 weeks or something. It's just weird.
Right. And she wired money to upwards of $7,000 to individuals in Moldova after the fact. So I don't know. There's just so many weird angles to this, but it's accidental.
Personally, I don't think that Chris played a part in Maddie's disappearance. I believe that he is guilty of failure to report, but I think that Chris was very gullible. I think that he was very, how do I say it? I think that he did whatever Diana wanted him to do. I think just like the grocery store worker that we had interviewed, I think that Diana fed him stories and he was like, okay, honey, that's what happened. He was the step parent. What kind of role did he play?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to sit back and say that, if my husband was like, your child is here, I'd be like, oh, okay, yep, I believe you. I think that Chris was very gullible, and I think he was lonely, and I think that he would have done anything to be shown affection from Diana. And on accounts of the grocery store workers and things like that, there was a lot of over-affection during the time Maddie was missing, even at the grocery store in public. I just think Chris's job was a job, it was, I think it was 2 hours away from the house. So by the time he had gotten home, it was very, very late. So he wouldn't have seen Maddie. She would be, in her room, in bed, whatever. And when he left, she would be gone before, so it's a very hard situation. But I think that, in my opinion, he was very gullible and would do anything to please Diana.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I mean, because I just think he just basically was going along with whatever she said to keep the heat down, keep the heat off of him. Because I think it was pretty a lot of traumatic stuff going on in that house, and whatever she said went, and he just agreed with it to keep himself out of the fire per se.
Right. And there's so much pieces to the story. Like there was, there's just so many pieces that you can't even begin to put them together because we don't know the truth from either of them.
Right. None of them fit.
And it's so sad to sit here and we've been following this case since the day she was reported, and now, she fled the country. And it's like, what can we do now? Where's the justice? Why isn't every single news outlet covering a little girl that hasn't been reported missing for weeks?
This is going to be the third Thanksgiving that she's going to be gone, and it just breaks my heart that this group has been the largest advocate for this child that is missing or worse.
And I don't want to harp on the police because I really believe that they did not realize what they were walking into. But I will also say that we've had people all over the world beg to put a reward fund for Madalina. And every single time we have called, they have, shut it down or said they'll get back to us or this or that. And after sending so many emails and to everybody and anybody, the governor finally put out a $25,000 reward for her.
Good.
And I think that's something that should have been done years ago.
Yeah, a lot of praise to you guys for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a little late because, we could have started a GoFundMe immediately, It makes no sense. It really doesn't. And then, the group did help organize birthday events with the city of Cornelius because we really wanted to get her name out in the news to make sure people don't forget. And that way, if someone did witness something or know something, that maybe they'll have the courage to come forward.
Yeah, we've been taking turns in our group. The neighbors are so desperate for Maddie to have answers that we'll sacrifice each one of them one by one to do a news interview, just so that we can get her name on the news again.
Yeah,
because we don't have any other options. We're running out of options.
Yeah, and Moldova doesn't extradite, so even if they come up with something else, they can't make her come back.
Well, the good thing about Moldova is that they don't extradite back to the U.S., but there is a possibility that if some charges were to go on Diana here, that Moldova could make her serve her time in Moldova.
Oh.
Or, since Diana is a tourist and she loves to go to Romania, that is an extraditional place. We can pick her up there.
Well, good.
Absolutely.
I heard that on this morning, so I'm glad you straightened it
hoping
out.
some evidence comes forward, because whether or not Christopher was involved with the disappearance, I definitely believe he was actively involved in the obstruction of justice and hiding evidence.
I agree.
Because there are people that say, well, he's the dumb husband, the dumb stepdad. You don't live in a house with a child and another adult for 3 weeks and like, oh, geez, where's the kid?
Right.
He would have to be home on weekends and not say, where's Madalina?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. And they spend Thanksgiving together. That's always bothered me from the beginning.
Like 1 or 2 days where Madalina's at a friend's or at a sleepover, that's normal. But then to continue it for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, plus as long as they've been together, even if she was sick and even if he had been work, come home and it's like, well, she's sick. Surely he would go in and check on her. He would care that much. It's not like they just moved there last week and he's just trying to stay out of her way. He's practically helped raise this child.
And he said that the thing that always stuck out to me, and it really bothers me, is he said, I didn't hear Maddie jumping on her bed that night.
Yeah, and that was a thing she did a lot, right? So
yeah,
he knew.
He always had that hinkling, he always had that, I always refer to it as this, and it sounds silly, but like a lot of women are like, I know that my husband's cheating on me, but I can't prove it. A lot of it. And I always compare it to that. It's like he knew, but he couldn't come to terms with it. He knew in the back of his head something was up, but he didn't want to admit it, so he ignored it.
And keep in mind, it's not like this was an active family and she was in sports and tons of extracurricular activities where it would be common for the kid to be at a sleepover at a girlfriend's house. I would say Madalina was kind of a homebody with her lifestyle.
He was, definitely, yes.
Yeah.
She used to play video games with the kid next door. She used to have a friend, and they used to dress up as cats together. She was a very she wasn't one of the children that were all into the cell phones lately and the games. That she was an imaginative kid.
So sad.
So you ladies have a group dedicated to Madalina on Facebook. Where can our listeners find this group and
follow along?
Yeah.
You just type in the search bar, where is Madalina Cojocari, and there's our group. It'll be the first one.
Okay, we'll definitely put a link to it in our show notes and share it on our socials and stuff. And
we'll join up.
Yeah, and get it out there. And try to find something on Madalina. This is crazy.
There's really there's a lot of stuff everywhere and nothing. You got a lot of pieces, but none of them fit together.
No. One last question. When was the last time the Cornelius Police Department made a statement on her case? Do you know?
Yes, there was a recent statement made. My goodness, probably within the last 2 weeks.
Alive, right? When she went, what happened was everybody was complaining that Diana fled the country. We had notified the press about it, so the press called the police department, and then they made a statement. But there hasn't been anything recently.
Yeah, there's been an interview though. That interview that just came out, where he basically they beat around the bush. There was a new interview. But it wasn't like a press conference. Madalina has never gotten a press conference, which is also another very sad thing.
Nothing.
Never one press conference.
That's wild. Never have any kind of press conference on anything like that.
No, they've never had a press conference. Yeah, and we've begged for one. We've begged for one, and they won't. We have to create events for them to cover Madalina's story for the news outlets, because the news, they can't cover unless there's a story. So we have to make a story for them to cover it. And, we've asked the Cornelius police so many times to do a presser. But unfortunately, there's nothing new for them to report.
In my mind, it's one of three things. They either have the lack of resources. 2, there's some other larger investigation going on that we're not aware of because of the ties to the T3 drug trafficking and the cousin. Or they know something, maybe unfortunately Madalina is no longer with us. I don't know. You hold on to hope that she's out there safe somewhere, but I just keep going back to the fact that the parents destroyed so much evidence in that fire, and the timeline has been botched with her missing for 3 weeks. They've allegedly, committed the perfect crime.
Wow. Well, ladies, we certainly appreciate you guys coming on and telling us Madalina's story and helping get the word out. And we'll definitely put this out there.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us on. Have a good day.
Hey, thank y'all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope we can get justice for her.
Yes, us too.
All right, Dale. That is the case of Madalina. There's way more to this story, man. I mean, you can take a deep dive into this and go down a ton of rabbit holes on it.
There's a way more, and there's nothing.
I agree.
I mean, because it's like the more you find out, you still know nothing.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
But this group did reach out to us wanting to cover this case, and they were blowing up our phones.
Yes. Which we love it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Just blow up our phones, and we'll ignore every one of them. No, I'm just kidding. we will definitely look into it and and do these cases if we can, and if we can find enough information. That's the only thing we get into problems with.
Right. Yeah, we have had a lot of people asking us to do certain things, and some things there's just, I mean, I guess we could do like a couple in one, I guess, or something.
Yeah.
But it's just very little information, even though they're all just as important.
I agree. But anyway, that's what we wanted to do for Madalina Cojocari.
Yeah.
Sad situation. I
Very
hope this little
sad.
girl, some justice is found for her, and hope something good happens anyway.
Yeah.
All right, bud, we're going to get out of here, man.
Okay, let's roll.
We want everyone to be safe. Please be careful and always be aware of your surroundings.
Because the next episode could be about you.
This is the
The
Crack
Crack
House
House
Chronicles.